the first serious discussions about such an invasion took place in the summer of 1940, so more than a year before the actual invasion took place. And Hitler issued an order in the spring of 1940 to start preparing for an invasion of the Soviet Union, which probably would have happened in early May or so if things went according to plan. But instead, the Italians decided to invade Albania and Greece. And when it turned out that the Italian ally of Adolf Hitler completely failed in those endeavors, the Germans had to come in and save the day and help the Italians out.
When you look at this, of course, you see the alliance of Mussolini to Hitler has been really, from Hitler's point of view, complete liability. Mussolini may have expressed a certain amount of enthusiasm, but his armed forces were completely useless.
Yes,
at the task set for them. Good they were, I suppose, the people against whom they were fighting. But.
Yes, this is one of those what-if moments of the war. If the German invasion of the Soviet Union, instead of happening on June 22nd, as it did happen, if it would have happened as according to plan, so maybe some late April, early May, then they would have probably stood those 20 kilometers or so outside of Moscow, not in November when winter was about to start, but maybe in September 1941.
Yes, and certainly the what if, of course, is always a fun part of history, and I think also, what if they hadn't been obsessed with getting to Stalingrad as well and could have actually not diverted their resources? I realise, of course, that Stalingrad was really, I think, a diversion, because they should have either concentrated on the North Moscow and actually getting to Moscow, or gone further south to the oil fields. But Stalingrad was, so take a bit of a liberty with geography,
yes.
But Stalingrad was sort of really a distraction.
Absolutely, and of course that failure with going for Moscow was initially they didn't manage to do it in 1941, but technically they could have waited out winter outside of Moscow, and then in the spring of 1942 went for a second round, so to say. But instead, as you mentioned, they decided to go down south and head for Stalingrad instead. So that was definitely a problem. But if we look at Romania again, you have another example of where you have Soviet aggression and this ultimatum that was issued against initially the region of Bessarabia and northern Bukovina, but in the end they also took a part called Herza. So that was something that they hadn't even told the Romanians about, but once they did annex these other two regions, they took a third one, you could say, as well. Also, the delineation in Bessarabia, they took 15-20 kilometers more than they were supposed to. The Soviets told the Romanians that by mistake they had advanced a little bit too far. They had some problems with their maps, so for some reason it's never in the other way that they don't take as much territory as they. It's just that duplicitous typical trait that we have seen so much now in the last year and a half in Ukraine as well. But just as with Finland, these acts against Romania, these annexations of those regions pushed the Romanians into the arms of Nazi Germany. So once Operation Barbarossa took place a year later, the Romanians were very eager to regain their lost territories, and they actually contributed with quite large forces on the Eastern Front, fighting at Stalingrad and Kursk and many other important battles side by side with the Germans. So it was a typical strategy in which the Soviet Union, they took some areas, but they also made great enemies. And today, again, in Ukraine, we're seeing the same, that they are prepared to launch a war of aggression to take either parts of Ukraine or potentially all of it, depending on what is their end goal. But at the same time, they do turn half of the world, if not more, against them. and they have certainly done a lot to unify the EU in security issues, but also strengthening the NATO alliance and the transatlantic community as a whole.
Adam, the clock in the corner of the studio is blinking at us. I'm afraid we have to bring that episode to a close, but fear not, we'll pick up the story next time. There we are. As usual, we've been defeated by the clock, but fear not, if you join us next time, as we hope you will, we will continue the story here on Poland Daily History. In the meantime, thank you for watching.